Hey guys, I'm back with another video. In this one, I wanted to go ahead and show you my complete DIY solar panel system with battery backup, charge controller, and my inverter, my disconnect, everything, my wiring. I want to go ahead and show you everything that I've done. I want to go ahead and start here with the solar panels. I do have this on a ground mount that I built and designed myself, which I did do on another video. But with this video, I want to go ahead and start with the solar panel array that I have. I've got 5 100 watts, so I've got a total of 500 watts right here. I built this out of 3/4 inch EMT and 1/2 inch EMT. I built this, I got these on Amazon, these little fence type styled connectors, and I got the brace bars right here to strengthen this. But I've got 4 legs total with the 3/4. This thing is really super lightweight. I did not want to build this out of lumber like I've seen other people do because, as you know, wood can expand. It doesn't bend. It's easy to move around. With the panels and everything, this weighs right about 100 pounds, so it's really easy to move around in the direction of the sun where I need it. This right here is basically handles. It's easy for 2 individuals to pick up and carry. As you can see, I have it here on its side, on its back, so it could be at more of an angle where the sun is down lower. I have this wired in parallel. Now the panels themselves did come 12 volt, but the way I do have this wired in parallel, they are 24 volt. The wiring for the panels are 12 gauge, but I do have 10 gauge extensions, and that's what I have going all the way to my disconnect for my charge controller in my home. One other thing I'll point out is when it gets windy, I have these sandbags that I just throw on the end of the legs right here, and this will just not go anywhere with the sandbags. But I'll go ahead and take you guys inside and I'll show you what I've got going on inside. My initial plan was to put everything here on the wall in the basement. My disconnect, my charge controller, the inverter, my battery bank. I wanted to have everything right here together, easy to work on. But with the solar panels being on this side of the house, in the back of the house, and the garage being on this side of the house, I couldn't necessarily have everything together. You can see I've got some 4/0 size cable here, and it's very expensive. That's how I chose to have it wired. I wanted to have the 12 volt battery bank with the 12 volt inverter here. And I'll show you this here in a minute, but the reason why I had everything spread out was because I needed to have my inverter as close to the batteries as I could. Just up there on the other side is my battery bank, which I'll show you towards the end of my video. This is my DC disconnect for my solar panels. It's a 100 amp, 500 volt. I love this thing. The price was well worth it. I think it was like $18 on Amazon. I'll go ahead and put a link down below. I went ahead and I got it labeled really well, so that way the wife, kids, anybody can find and locate and turn off the solar panels. Now this circuit breaker is a 2-pole, as I mentioned, 500 volt, 100 amp isolator, specifically for solar panel systems. It has the thermal magnetic trip. I've got the 10 gauge wire coming in and the 10 gauge coming out. And coming into my charge controller, this is what I have. I have the POW Mister. This is the MPT solar charge controller, 100 amp. This thing has a really nice display that I like, especially for the price. I have over 400 watts coming in from my solar panels to my battery bank. That's actually pretty good for those Renogy panels. I've got a total of 500 watts. That's over 80% efficiency. That's quite impressive, actually. I'm pretty happy with what I'm seeing coming in off of those panels right now. That's in direct sunlight, of course. That's probably about the best I'm going to get, that array of 500. 4.0 is code. I've got my notes up here. It means it's just fast charging mode right now. But this will change. It'll reduce to boost and then float, and then there's also night mode as well. But it always goes back to, it always reverts to the voltage coming in. As I did mention, I do have the solar array wired in parallel, so it is a 24 volt that's coming in to this charge controller. I'll explain why here in a minute, but I have my battery bank as a 12 volt, which is just fine. This system will convert the 24 volt into the 12 volt. But this this control panel here is pretty nice. As you can see, I've got the 10, obviously from the disconnect, as I mentioned, I've got the 10 gauge coming in, and then I chose to go with the 6 gauge coming out, and I've got that going over to my battery bank over here. I have the Bojack fuse here. Now this is to protect my charge controller from my battery bank and to protect my battery bank from my charger control. This is just 100 amp. Pretty certain I'm never going to go near that with my smaller system my smaller DIY system that I have. But I've got the 6 gauge going to. I'll show you in the garage here in a second. I've got it going to my battery bank, and then the battery bank is just on the other side up here. And then I've got my 4-aught coming down into my inverter. I'll come back to the inverter in a minute. I'm just going to go ahead and bring you guys to my battery bank. Here is my 12-volt battery bank system that I have right here. I have it kept here in this box. We're getting into the winter right now. I don't really need a whole lot of ventilation. I just want to keep these batteries from getting too cold. We do get well below freezing temperatures every day for like close to 5 months. So underneath here, I have some ventilation on both sides, the front and the back of this box. The winter time, I do a lot of projects in the garage. I'm usually cutting wood. I don't want sawdust in here. So this is mostly just to keep debris from coming in and settling all over in my battery. But in the summertime, I'll just have this down lower like this. If you can see this, I got 2 holes here. I got for the winter and I got for the summer. This way I still have the ventilation coming in from the bottom on both ends, and then it can ventilate out through the top. That way the batteries don't heat up and get too hot in here. A lot of you might be wondering, well, why don't you have your charge controller, your disconnect, and your inverter, everything out in the garage closer to each other? Well, that's because we get a lot of extreme weather where I live. Like I said, it gets really cold. My garage is somewhat finished, but it's not insulated. I do just have drywall. So I don't want those things getting cold, but more importantly, in the summertime, it gets pretty hot here in the garage. I just don't want my inverter and my charge controller having added heat to it. It just doesn't seem necessary, where in the summertime, it'll be cooler and better controlled inside of my basement. So that's the reason why I have everything kind of spread out the way I do. But this just comes off like this. The top is not hinged on or anything, so I just pull this off to the side. And here is my battery bank. Right now I've got 4 batteries. These are lead acid batteries. I've had these for some time. I've used these off-grid at a cabin property. These are a little older. These 2 are June of 21. And these other 2 are April of 2018, and they're still working. They've lasted for quite some time because I've maintained them correctly. I'll do another video on the way I have these wired, but I have these wired in such a way that they discharge and charge evenly. What's important that I do want to point out is that all the cables that you have on your batteries, they all need to be the same length. That's very important. I have 18-inch. I could have gone a little shorter, but I wanted to make these long enough so that if I ever upgraded to some larger lithium batteries, I'd have an easier time in using these cables. Because as you might know, these 4-aught cables are not inexpensive. They're actually pretty expensive. And this is the size that was called for on my 4,000 watt inverter, which I'll show you here in just a moment. But as you can see, I've got my 4-aught going out to my inverter, and this is what's coming in from my charge controller, the 6 gauge. But I'm really happy with the way I have this set up. Everything seems to be going really well so far. I really like this box that I made. I didn't want to have my batteries down on the floor. Wanted to make it easier so I could sit here at a little stool and work on my batteries when needed. I did make this bench, this box, large enough to hold 6 batteries. So I thought ahead so that if I could add a 5th and a 6th battery, there'd be enough room in here. And last but not least, this brings us to my inverter. I went with the Ultine, the P is silent, the Ultine 4,000 watt 12 volt inverter. This thing, I am actually quite happy with it as well. I did go ahead and I isolated my connection to my shelf here just to reduce the vibration noise. The isolation that I used came from, that's right, my 4-aught insulation. As you can see, I just doubled up here the layer on the bottom, then I got the one layer on the top. Just like I said, reduces the vibration and the noise. And I've got the remote upstairs. I'll show you that here. Actually, I almost forgot to mention that, but I've got the remote for this upstairs, so it's easier to turn this on and off and to kind of see what we've got coming out. And I like the fact that this has 4 outlets as well. I just got my extension cords running up into the 2 rooms where we are using this most of the time. I had to cut open the plastic here just so I could fit my larger lugs on here. And these lugs are fitting onto a 1/4 inch terminal. And that's what I have on here right now. But this is well protected. I know these leads are kind of close to each other, but I do like the way that they provide a closed-in plastic casing around. I got this down pretty far, so no metal is exposed. One other quick thing I'll point out about this inverter that I really like is that the cooling fan doesn't run all the time. I haven't seen this thing go on unless I'm pulling to like 2,500 watts on this. Its tolerance for heat is a lot higher than most other inverters I've seen on the market. I believe this one can get up to 145 Fahrenheit before the fan kicks on. So this is designed to handle higher levels of heat, which I kind of liked. I did have a 1,500 watt at first when I was beginning this DIY build. I just did not like the fact that the fan was kicking on and off all the time. It was, you know, a little bit of annoyance, but I like having the larger, oversized inverter. I really don't see us pulling much more than 1,500 out of this on a given day. But it's just nice to be oversized on everything. Same with my charge controller. I got this on Amazon. I'll go ahead and put a link in the description below if you guys want to check that out. Before I go upstairs and show you the remote to the inverter, I'll go ahead and show you this charge controller. It's already showing 14.4 volts off of my battery. It's just drawing in 91. I'm in direct sunlight, but it's lessened down to 92 watts right now, which is mode code 7.0. which is it's boosting the charging mode right now. It's boost charging the mode right now. So I just thought I'd show that to you guys real quick. And here is the remote controller for the inverter. You can see it's showing a reading of 14.2 volts from the DC voltage, and it's converting it to 120 volts AC. I'm only drawing 10 watts right now. Here, let me go and turn my space heater on. Okay, I've got my space heater on right now. Pay no attention to this battery. I think this might be designed for just one 12-volt battery. It just knows that it's pulling off this many wattage right now. So it's just mostly guesstimating. This is not a shunt. I did have a battery monitor with shunt through Renogy. I was not happy with it at all. I just did not like it. I did not feel it was accurate, but I don't want to just sit here and bash it right now. Maybe I could talk more about it in another video. It just has a light, and then it has the power button right here. But this is it. This is my remote controller from my inverter. I have it upstairs, so it's easier for us to just kind of turn it off at night when we know we don't need it, and gives us an idea of how much wattage we're pulling off of our batteries. Or right now, we're probably up to 400 coming off the charge controller from outside from the solar panels, and then it's just discharging probably roughly around the difference, 400 watts off the battery right now. So that's my system. Let me know what you guys think. I hope you guys got some ideas from me. I'd love to hear some ideas from you guys. If you have any corrected ideas or anything in addition that you would like to share with me, please share in the comments below. I appreciate any feedback you guys have, and I appreciate any support you guys give me on this channel. Thank you so much. I'll see you guys in my next video.